Hey guys, it's Mom of Two, Wife of One, and welcome back to my channel. Before we move on to what you guys really want to hear about, make sure that you like this video, you share this video, you subscribe to my channel, and you click the notification bell. Because you know how you're going to know when I post new stuff. On this channel, I post a little bit of, not everything, but I talk about books, I talk about shows, I talk about my babies, I talk about being a wife, I talk about a little bit of everything. But you guys are not here for a little bit of everything. You guys are here for the review and recap of Married at First Sight season 16 episode 2, which is entitled Runaway Groom question mark, which I thought was a weird title considering what happened this episode. It didn't really make sense, but we're going to get right into it with Kirsten and Shaquille. So this is the first wedding that we saw. Last week we saw them preparing to go down the aisle and then the episode abruptly stopped. So I like that they didn't make us wait. As soon as the episode started, we immediately saw Kirsten coming down the aisle. Now, she had just told her bridesmaids before coming down the aisle that she really didn't want a man who was bald. Shaquille is bald, and it threw her off. And the body language was so glaringly apparent. She walked down the aisle, and they're literally standing this far apart from each other. She didn't move closer to him. She's just kind of staring at him and not saying anything, and it felt really awkward. But he's just smiling at her. He's like, "Oh my gosh, God really took his time with you. Oh, you were so gorgeous." She's like, "Oh, thank you, thank you." And I felt like he was being very genuine in his appreciation of her because she's a beautiful girl. So he was very enamored with her from jump. Thought she was very pretty. Her saying thank you in that really soft, sweet Southern way, I think that was just her ingrained home training as a Southern girl. But it was very clear that she was not into this man. Like, the body language just spoke volumes because normally on this show, when the bride and the groom meet each other for the first time, it's a lot of giddiness, it's nervous laughter, it's nervous chatter like, "Hi, my name is such and such. Okay, so nice to meet you. I can't believe we're doing this." It's something. And literally they were up there just staring at each other and there were no words spoken. I was like, oh, she is not giddy. She is not excited. She is very disappointed off the bat. But I think in hearing the vows, and I think in just feeding off of his energy, I could see that she was impressed with him. From the vows that he wrote at the altar to the conversation they had when they came up the altar, I could definitely tell that she seemed impressed and like, oh, so this is why we're matched. Oh, you're a mentor. Oh, you do this. Oh, you're really smart. Oh, you pray. Oh, okay. So I could tell that she was like, okay, kind of getting, she definitely was genuinely interested in getting to know him. And she seemed to really like everything that she heard so far. And I could tell that he was really feeling her as well and just kind of feeding off her spirit because he was like, yeah, she seems so sweet. And, she seems quiet. But I did put in my notes, those are the ones you gotta look out for. The women who on the surface seem really sweet and quiet and a little docile and like, oh, I'm just here to please my husband and I'm here to do this. Those women you gotta look out for because those are women who have very short fuses and they hold a lot of stuff in. And then out of nowhere, it just bursts like a dam and then they just kind of lose it. But at the actual altar, she gave this man her cheek. And all of us, even one of her girls who was in the audience, was like, oh, because she knew what that meant, like, oh, she's not attracted to him. But he was like, yeah, I love that because it means she has boundaries. And I love that. Yes, have your boundaries. I was like, oh, poor Shaquille. But I will say, in hearing his story, and also I love in one of his vows, he did say, in part of his vows, he said, to my newest best friend. I was like, oh, I will say today at least, I really like Shaquille. It's something about his personality. It's something about the energy that he gives off. He seems like a very genuine person. He seems nice. He seems focused. He seems just a really nice guy. So I will say right now that I really like him. I think that there's a chance for Kirsten to love him at some point and even become attracted to him. Attraction is something that can fade over time. If someone has like an awful personality, it's also something that can grow. If you're not overly attracted to a person when you first meet them, but the personality is really good and they're treating you really well, they'll start looking better in your eyes. It's just something that genuinely happens. But I'm really hoping that Kirsten does not focus on the fact that he's bald. And she said he has two strikes. He's bald and he's younger than she is. This man is 31 and she's 32. A year, like you're tripping off of a year, is not like he's 21. Then I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm like, I'm a 21-year-old. I'm 32. You guys are literally 12 months apart. That is not a bit, I don't understand. And, she said in the beginning before she went down the aisle that she's very particular. And I said that being particular does not work for a show like this. If you're that particular about exactly what you feel you need in terms of what the person looks like, what they have to do for a living, how much they need to make, all that stuff, then you don't sign up for a show where you don't have control over who they pick for you. Because the idea you have in your mind of what this man or woman looks like that you feel is the right fit for you, personality wise, it may not fit that physical mold that you're thinking about. And if you're so focused on the physical mold, then you're going to miss out possibly on a great partnership and a great relationship with somebody. So I don't know why she necessarily signed up for the show. That doesn't seem to make any sense to me. Let's see. Did I put anything else? I just said I think that they're actually an attractive couple. Like watching them walk back up the aisle after they got married and seeing them side by side, I think they're actually a very attractive couple. And outside of that, if she can let go of her preconceived notions of what she wanted and she genuinely gets to know him and it was willingly giving him a chance and he does the same for her, then I think they could possibly be okay. So no predictions yet. I want to wait till we see all the weddings and then I'll make my prediction on the actual couples and who I think is going to make it and not make it. But we're going to move on now to Nicole and Chris. I will say this. They seem, on paper at least, like the perfect couple. But I think for a lot of the couples on this show, on paper, they all seem really just gung-ho and, oh, they're a perfect match and it's going to mesh well and blah, 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 blah. I said last week that one of my concerns is that Nicole is from Queens, New York. If you have never met a New Yorker, which if you watch my channel, I'm sure you guys are grown up, so I'm sure you have met a New Yorker or you are a New Yorker yourself. New Yorkers are very honest and they're very assertive. And that personality does not always mesh with certain people. And so I was concerned because I didn't know where Chris was from. I thought he was from the South, but Chris is from Chicago. So I was like, oh, okay, then maybe they'll be okay. Having someone from a big city match with someone else from a big city, I was like, okay, that could probably work. But I was concerned at first because the personality of someone from up north compared with someone down south, that sometimes can be a little messy. So the fact that they're both from really big northern cities, I was like, okay, so this could possibly be okay. And there were a lot of signs that pointed in the right direction for them. They both said, before they even knew the names of the person they were getting married, they both guessed the name of their husband or wife. That already was like, huh, that's kind of freaky. And then when they gave each other a gift. They both wrote notes to each other, and each gift came in parts, which again, they didn't know each other, so they didn't know they were both going to do this. And then her gift to him was a crystal that symbolized, I completely forgot, but it symbolized something. It symbolized like removal of fear and communication and something else. And then he gave her a bracelet made of moonstones, and the moonstone symbolized something as well. So the fact that both of their gifts are entwined with spirituality and with the crystals and all that stuff is like, oh wow, okay, you guys are on the same wavelength, like the exact same wavelength, and you haven't even walked down the aisle yet. So I know that that helped to make them both at ease and relaxed and comfortable. I thought it was really cute seeing them together. I loved that before her father walked down the aisle, he said, my biggest concern is that you won't be my little girl anymore. And that was just the sweetest thing ever. I really loved that moment between her and her daddy. I thought that was really sweet. She got an engagement ring, and we saw this a lot last season. There was, I don't remember, I think was it Jared Allen, is that the name? But it was a jewelry company that was a big advertiser for the show. So every couple got this engagement ring. I think was jaredallen.com, or it could be some other, I'm sure I'm messing up the name. But basically that this company was a big advertiser for the show last season. So every couple got this engagement ring. It showed the men going online and designing it. Oh, this is so easy going on this site. I can't believe it was this easy. I get to pick the cut and the clarity and this and this and this. And it was very like overtly a commercial within the actual show. And so this season, I don't know if they still have that person because they didn't zoom in on the box like they normally do. But she got an engagement ring, and I was confused as to why Kirsten did get an engagement ring. Do they still have that as an advertiser, or was this just a personal thing that Chris did, getting her an engagement ring? I was kind of confused about that because, again, we didn't have that scene with Kristen and with Shaquille. We didn't even see them exchanging gifts if they did give each other gifts. So I was kind of confused about that. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. Let's see. With Chris and Nicole, I thought that first of all, when they first met, that was the reaction that we normally see. Just getting this, hi, how are you? I'm Nicole. I'm Chris. Oh my gosh, it's so great to meet you. I can't believe we're doing this. Like, this is just crazy. I just can't believe it. But they were so visibly excited and pleased with what they saw. And I was like, this is what you expect from this show. From the first meeting, you expect to see that giddiness and that excitement and that anxiety and that nervousness. None of that was there for Kirsten and Shaquille, sorry. So I was really happy that we got that with Nicole and Kristen. I think that's really Nicole's personality. She's just very much hyped up, and she's like she said, she was like, on a normal day I'm on 100, when I'm really nervous I'm on 200, so I'm gonna try to rein it in. And I think she did a good job. But they were holding hands, and even when they were talking about the family and friends saying, oh, this is what you need to know about Nicole, this is what you need to know about Chris, even what they're looking for and what they offer seemed to really like match well, because they were like, Nicole really wants someone, Nicole loves affection, and they were like, oh, Chris is very affectionate. It's like, okay, without knowing each other, it seems again on paper that they will actually make a really good fit. So they sit beside each other after they got married, and they did kiss on the mouth, and they just seemed very in sync right away, and they seemed so comfortable with each other right away. And I really like Nicole's personality a lot. She said, like, I have to make it work with him, because if I can't make it work with him, if I can't make it work with him, I can't make it work with anyone. She was like, I have dreamed this man up and made him out of Mando. I just love her terminology, just the idea of Mando and creating your man. I just think it's really funny. But they were holding hands. She had her hand on his thigh, and he was already like, okay, so when should we start calling each other honey, baby? Like, should we start doing that now? And I was like, I love that. I really like them. I haven't seen the other two, because we only saw 3 weddings last night. So there are 2 weddings still left to be had next week. So I don't know what they'll look like. But for right now, I'm going to say Nicole and Chris is my favorite couple. Like, I just really liked seeing them together. Even though we just talked about the wedding and everything's great at the wedding anyway, I really liked it. It just seemed really sweet. It seemed very natural and not forced. And it just seemed like just naturally, I'm excited to meet you. I'm really excited to get to know you, and I'm so excited to start this journey with you. So right now, they're my favorite couple. And the last couple that got married were Gina and Clint. Clint, okay, so they showed all these couples buying their wedding dresses and buying their tuxes. One thing I will say, all of these women are curvy, which I love and appreciate as a thick chick myself. Now, they're not thick in the way that I'm thick, but I loved how curvy they all are. Like, they got the breasts, they got the butt, they got the hips. And I don't know if it's because they're in Nashville or not, even though all of them aren't from Nashville, but I really liked seeing that. That made my heart just swell. Like, yes, curves. Yes, embrace those curves. And I like Gina's personality. Gina just seems very, she seems bubbly, but she also seems very down to earth, extremely intelligent, and about her business and about, like, yes, I want to do this. And I was thinking about this. Her approach to marriage and Nicole's approach to marriage, in terms of their excitement level, I guess, was definitely different. And I was wondering what works best for this show. Nicole is like, if this doesn't work, like, this isn't going to be my one and only marriage. So if this doesn't work out, I mean, I guess I'll just never be married. I'll be alone for the rest of my life. While Gina seems excited about getting married, but she doesn't seem desperate for it. It's more like, okay, I want to get married. My mom wants me to have kids at some point. So yes, this is great. I'm glad I'm getting married. But, if it doesn't work out, and she hasn't said this, but the feeling I get from her is, I want this to work, but I don't need to be married. I want to be married. And if it doesn't work out, then I just won't be married, and that'll be that. I don't know for this show what level of excitement or what level of anxiousness, I guess, or desperation, I don't know if that's the right word, which one of those works best for the success of the show. Someone who desperately wants to get married, or someone who's choosing to get married. I don't really know. It's a question I had. So, sound off in the comments if you have an answer, if you think you have an answer about which one makes sense, I guess, for this particular process. But I will say this. Her body is banging. She had this beautiful form-fitting dress that did show off all of her curves. It was very pretty. Clint, on the other hand, if you guys don't remember which one Clint is the one that, like, races sailboats, and he has, like, longish hair and a very thick beard. It's like a brownish red, I guess. And he tried on a tux that looked very nice. I believe it was a blue tux. Very nice, classic, traditional, all that stuff. But his groomsmen were like, oh man, you look good, but this just isn't you. This isn't your personality. So it changes, and they're like, oh yeah, this is more you. He's like, yeah, I'm more comfortable in this. It's just a regular gray suit. It has like some pretty print on the inside, but on the outside is literally just a gray suit with a shirt with no tie. My mom and I were having this conversation on text last night with my uncles, and I told you guys I have that group chat with some elder people in my family. And my mom and I are on the same page. Like, a tie is more formal. You're getting married. He looked like he had gone to work and taken his tie off to go for after dinner drinks with some colleagues. That's what he looked like. He did not look like he was going to a wedding. And what I didn't understand is, you don't have a tie on, but yet all of the men standing up with you who have on similar suits, they all are wearing ties. Why are you not wearing a tie? I didn't understand it. It just looked way too casual to me, so I didn't really like that. It's not my business, of course. And then he talks about, one thing I will say, another thing I'll say, I really like Gina's mom. When Gina was trying on her dresses, she asked her mom, like, what kind of dress do you want to see me in? It's like, I want to see you have a dress that shows that you're confident, you're sexy, you're classy, and you're a boss, B-I-T-C-H. And I just love that. And her mom got choked up when she chose a dress. And I liked her mom a lot. I really like that. And I was going to talk about this when it comes to picking a wedding dress. One of Gina's bridesmaids, when she tried on her first dress, the bridesmaid was like, oh, I hate the dress. Now, I will say this. If you are someone who is picking a wedding dress of your own, or if you're joining a friend to pick out her wedding dress, here is a big tip. Especially if you're the friend, never give your opinion before the bride gives her opinion. The whole point of you being there is to offer constructive criticism, is to help the bride make a decision, to help her kind of focus, to stay on budget if need be. But you are not to offer your opinion before the bride offers her opinion. Make her tell you what she likes and doesn't like about that particular dress. Because at the end of the day, you are not wearing that dress, she is. And that'll go a long way in helping her make that decision, and she'll appreciate you and all of that stuff. But I've seen people get really nasty when it comes to picking out wedding dresses because the bridesmaids speak out of turn, either because they're just like, that's not something I would wear, I don't think it flatters you, they're really frenemies in disguise and they're talking bad about you, or they're making it all about them and they don't want you looking too good or whatever. A lot of different things. And I'm not saying any of you have friends like that. I'm not saying any of you are friends like that. But I will say again that if you are that friend, make sure that you wait for the bride to give her opinion before you give your own opinion. If you are the bride and you are about to start looking for a wedding dress, I would say not to have too many people there with you. Have some people, because it does help to have advice from people. It does help, again, have people hold you accountable and make sure that you are not getting something that's just safe, that you're not getting something that is tacky, that's out of season, or whatever. But you do need people there. But I would say limit the amount of people that you have with you. Stick to maybe 2, at the most, maybe 3 people. Because keep in mind, the more people who are there, the more opinions you have to contend with. And if you're already someone who's indecisive, the last thing you need is more opinions than necessary. And also, if you're picking up the wedding dress, do research ahead of time on that particular store. Go to their website, see what kind of stuff they have in stock, have some idea of what you want, whether it's the color, it's the cut, sleeves or no sleeves, lace compared to mesh, compared to satin, compared to silk, whatever it is. Have some idea of what you want, because it can be very overwhelming walking into a bridal store and just seeing all the options, because they're supposed to have a bunch of options because every bride wants something different. So have a clear idea of not the perfect dress, but at least something that you want. Go to their website and look for, start with looking up dresses that come in your size. Start with looking for dresses, like I said, that are a certain color. If you know the not time of day, but the season that you're getting married, start with those kind of dresses, whether a sleeveless dress, something with sleeves, something with straps. Focus on those kind of small things to help narrow down your search. And again, save some of those pictures on your phone or save them to a Pinterest board or whatever, so you can go to the store readily with those pictures. Like, okay, I'm going to try these dresses on first and then kind of go from there. So that's just a little quick aside about wedding dress shopping and things to look out for, and, you know, tips and all that stuff. So we're going back to Gene and Clint now. I will say that he said that he slept with 65 partners, but hasn't found Mrs. Right. Clint is 40 years old, as a reminder. Obviously, I don't know at what age he started having sex, but 65 seems like quite a large number. It also doesn't sound like you were looking for Mrs. Right if you were sleeping with 65 women, but that's just my personal opinion. What do I know? I did like what her brother Mark said, Gina's brother Mark. He walked her down the aisle and he said to her, marriage is a process. It can work. You just have to trust in the experts. And I feel like every single bride and every single groom on this show needed to hear that specifically. Trust that the experts paired you with someone that you need, but that person may not look like how you want. Understand that the experts can only pair you with this person. They can't be with you every single day of the process or even every single day after the process to help you guys deal with certain things. Trust in the process. Understand that, yes, this is a process, is technically 8 weeks, but give yourself all the time you need to determine if you can make this work with that person. Because it is a process. Even if you don't go through this particular process of getting married at first sight, marriage itself is a process, because there is a lot of transition involved. There's a lot of negotiating involved. There's a lot of compromise involved. And it's constantly changing because life changes all the time. So with different life events, your marriage is going to change with that, whether it's the addition of kids, whether it's the death of a parent, whether it's a new job or getting, you know, fired from a job or moving or whatever. Marriage is going to go through all that kind of stuff. So it is a process. You do have to be patient with it. So I'm glad that Mark said that to her. And I'm hoping all the couples heard that somehow. I will say, didn't like Clint's suit at all. Was not a tux. Wasn't formal enough. But, and I don't even think he's that attractive, but I do like his eyes. His eyes are like a bright blue, and I think they look brighter because his hair is so dark. But they're bright blue. They're very expressive. I like that. I love that when she came down the aisle, she immediately went to Clint and hugged him. I love that. Like, immediately establishing affection, immediately let me touch you to make sure that you're real and let you know, hey, I'm here. We're in this together. So I love that she hugged him immediately. They did kiss at the aisle. When it came time for the rings, her dog brought the rings, which I thought was so stinking cute. I know some people had an issue with dogs at the wedding or whatever. I thought it was a really cute moment. And I think it's good that he knows up front that, yes, you have this dog now. You are going to be responsible for helping take care of him. So I thought that was cute. And he said that he's attracted to her. He likes her eyes and her figure. What I thought was interesting, two things were interesting. Whenever they talked about him and the stuff that he does, he focused so much on the sailing thing. He said he's 8th generation sailor. So he has these boats, and I know he goes all around the world racing these sailboats. So I thought that's what he did, but apparently he's in the tech world. I was like, oh, so you have a steady job. I don't think I realized that. And I'm sure he probably mentioned it, but the sailboat thing is the main thing he focused on. So I really didn't know. And the interesting thing is that they live in the exact same building, which is very, very funny, because sometimes that's the way it works. The person that you're meant to be with, or the person that's going to be your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, can live right around the corner. You just never even know it. I will say, for the 3 couples that have gotten married so far, I see a lot of promise. And it's hard. It's easy to say that because obviously it's just the wedding day. They've been married all of 35 minutes. Obviously everything's going to seem great in 35 minutes. So it's really easy for me to say that. So the other 2 couples didn't get married last night, but we did get a little camera time for them. Dominique and McKinley, we didn't really see a lot from them. Yeah, nothing really happened. He picked out a blue tux. He said he's introverted. She picked out a dress that had a little sweetheart neckline. And, you know, we were reminded that her mom signed her up for the show, but she said that she's ready to get married. Time will tell. I don't know. And that's pretty much all we got from them. There's really nothing else. Jasmine and Eris, though. So Jasmine picked a nice dress. I thought it was interesting that when she was meeting with her sisters, when she was getting ready, they were asking her, are you nervous? You know, how do you feel? And I thought it was interesting what she was nervous about. Most people be like, I'm just so nervous. What if he doesn't like me? Or what if I'm not attracted to him? They kind of put the onus on the person that they're meeting at the end of the aisle. She was more nervous about meeting his family and worrying about if they would be too protective. And I'm sure that the producers kind of put that in her head because of the fact that he's the one that has a cousin that is very adamant about him not doing this process because he's never been in a relationship before. He's never had a long term girlfriend ever. So that one cousin has been extremely vocal about you should not do this. This is a bad idea. I don't agree with this. So the producers put that in her mind to be wary of that so that she can express that worry to her sister. So it's like, okay, that was really subtle producers. He tried on, he had like a traditional tux, a typical black tux. But I will say the first one he tried on was this wine colored tuxedo that looked really nice. And I think I realized I like people kind of go outside the box a little bit. Clint didn't go outside the box. He just wore a beach attire. It just didn't make no sense. But the wine colored tux was fly. And Eris really should have worn that. His friends were talking to him about like what he's looking forward to, I guess, when it comes to marriage, and he wants to have kids. So he said it's going to be a nasty, enjoyable process making the offspring. Okay, Eris, like that's just the sound bite that I remember, and I was like, I guess I sure, who knows. He claims that he's ready to leave the streets behind. He's gone to therapy and he's like read books, and you know he's basically saying that at one point I was a hoe. I don't want to be a hoe anymore. I want more for myself. So I started going to therapy to kind of get to the crux of why I was doing the things that I was doing. I'm reading self-help books. I'm trying to be a better person, which is all well and good. But I think, again, that you can do all that stuff and be a better person for a girlfriend, to open yourself up to have a relationship, not a marriage. That's still my opinion. Everything still remains to be seen. Who knows? I also said that I loved Jasmine's makeup. It was very, she had the lashes, but everything else was very kind of nude and muted, but it was very classically beautiful. It was very, very nice. She's a PK, which is a preacher's kid. So her sisters, what I really love, they all gathered around, and her mom, and they prayed, not just for her, but they prayed for their future brother in law. And I really liked seeing that. So hopefully Eris is a praying person. I don't know if he is or not. When he was about to go into the church, his cousin came up to him and basically was like, hey, this is crazy. You can walk out of here right now. Nobody's going to fault you for that. I don't like the fact that she's basically trying to get this man to run. It's one thing to have your opinion. When he told you, yeah, I signed up for this show, I'm getting married in 2 weeks. So you're more than welcome to have your opinion. That's fine. And who knows, she's probably been in his ear the entirety of these 2 weeks. But don't come up to him minutes before he goes into the church or the sanctuary, wherever they're getting married, and tell him, okay, you can still back out of this. I got the getaway car in the back. Let's roll. And I understand, like, maybe a good friend, that's what they're supposed to do, is kind of give you a chance to kind of reevaluate things, whatever. But I feel like on the day of the wedding, it's too late at that point. And if that person has made that decision and you're still not on board with it, you have the choice to not come to the freaking wedding. That's solely up to you. Because the fact that she's there means, don't want to say means, but I guess the fear is that she's going to get in Jasmine's ear at the reception and say some not mean things or whatever, because she didn't seem like she's being mean. And I don't even disagree with what she's saying. But I guess the fear is that now that you're at this wedding, even though you don't agree with it at all, you're going to get in Jasmine's ear, and who knows what you're going to say to her. You're not going to badmouth your cousin probably, but you may just be a little too honest with Jasmine at the reception. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with them. I don't know. I obviously the hope is that Eris has put those ways behind him, and I don't even doubt that he's put those ways behind him. I think that if he says he has, he has. Like, I don't doubt that. The doubt for me, or the concern for me, is that she's been in long-term relationships before. He has never been in a long-term relationship, but because she's had that experience, she has an idea of what is and is not supposed to happen. He may not have that same knowledge. So I feel like she's going to be spending a lot of her 8 weeks almost training him in how to be in a relationship, period. And then by the time all that 8 weeks is up, she got to decide, Dad, okay, now you're not in a relationship. Do I actually want to be married to you? That's a lot of work. So I don't know what's going to happen with that situation. That's something that we'll kind of keep track of. But that's pretty much all that happened last night. Next week, the remaining two couples are going to get married, and we'll get to see them at the reception. Now, the reception is always a very interesting part because we get to see their first dance. We get to see how the kind of conversations they have during their first dance are always really entertaining, because some people are still awkward and not talking. Some people are talking about, oh, I can't believe people are watching us. Oh, I've never danced before. I'm kind of awkward. I don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite movie? So it's really interesting because it's their intimate time, technically getting to know each other more, but they're surrounded by family and friends who are all clinking their glasses to get them to kiss or whatever. But it's also the time when the family and friends get to grill their new brother-in-law, sister-in-law, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, friend, or whatever. And those conversations are always so incredibly interesting because you get to see who will answer the questions honestly, who will get annoyed by all the questions, who will, maybe blatantly lie or whatever. It's very interesting to hear those conversations because obviously as family and friends, you are protective over your person. But I'll say this just like I say every single year. Even though, let's say it's my friend, best friend. Yes, that's my sister. You are her husband, so I'm going to respect you as her husband. However, I am very protective of her. I love her. I don't want to see her getting hurt. I have the right to be protective. There's nothing wrong with that. However, there's a line there. There are some questions I should not be asking you, especially because, well, not especially because A, is none of my business whatsoever. And B, some of the questions they ask should be questions or conversations that that person has with their new spouse before they have it with, because we're all strangers at that point, but at least the spouse they've known for a couple hours longer than us. Those conversations should happen with the spouse first before they come up with us. Talking about sex, that's none of your business. That's a conversation that he or she needs to have with their new spouse. We don't need to know about their sex life. We don't need to know what they plan to do with my friend or brother or sister, whatever, that night. That's not our business. Nobody ever heeds that, especially because wine is flowing and people are getting tipsy. So they tend to kind of say whatever they want to say. So next week will just be entertaining regardless. But I hope you guys will join me next week for the newest video. And thank you guys so much for listening to the review and recap of Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 2. Meet me back here, right here on this channel next Thursday to discuss these couples. What do you guys think of the season so far? I know we're only 2 episodes in, but are there any couples that you like more than others? Are there any single people that you like more than others? Who's your favorite bride? Who's your favorite groom? What did you guys think about the dresses that the ladies picked out and the tuxes that the men picked out? Make sure you sign off below. I always respond to you guys. I love you guys so much for communicating with me in the comments. You guys are so funny and you're honest and you give me a lot of new insight that I didn't even think about. So I appreciate that. But yeah, so I hope you guys do that. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, comment, and subscribe and click the notification bell. And I'll see you guys next week. Peace.